name is Jennifer Harris. I am the president of America's Hometown Laureates, Inc. We are a nonprofit organization that supports poetry throughout the Plymouth community. We also are the agency that appointed the Plymouth Poet Laureate. Our newest one is Miriam O'Neill. She's off traveling and doing research, so we couldn't bring her back for this event, but I know that she loves ekphrastic events, which means poetry put to pictures or visual art. So today we are fortunate to be here at Inky Hand's print studio. So I want to take a moment to thank Kat Libretto for opening up her doors to us. This was an exciting change. As this is our second annual Plymouth Poetry Festival, we have tried some different venues. I do want to thank, we started out last week at the Breathing Lotus Living Arts Studio, so it was a Zen studio, which was a wonderful feeling for all the poets. Then we moved to the Plymouth Public Library, my old stomping ground, and we had a wonderful Irish classic poetry reading with Anya Minogue, who's a Celtic harpist, accompanying. It was truly magical, and I expect to do more programming there. Then we moved to, just this week, we went to Uva Wine Bar, which seems to be a poet's favorite. Everyone had a good time. We filled the room with at least 50 people, food and drink, and wonderful poetry. And then today we are here at Inky Hand's Print Studio. I wanted to also thank the Massachusetts Cultural Council grant that helped fund this annual event, and I know some people want to make sure we do a third annual, so I did apply for another grant, so hopefully we will receive that. So we're going to keep the work going. Thank you. One of the advantages of hosting this event here is Kat is going to take any poet who actually wrote a poem upon the inspiration of a print that is here. She will then take the poem and silkscreen it into a broadsheet, and the poets who wrote them will get copies of the broadsheets, as well as we will set up a show at some point where the prints are next to the poems during the summer. So that's all going to happen as a result of this, and I hope to work with Kat again. We've had fun, and it's just wonderful. So I believe that it's time to bring up our first poet, Anita Wallette. If you would please come up. You can correct me if I said your name.
You said it just right, which is very unusual. Well, thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Kat, and thank you for your work, Kat. This is the print, which I loved. Kat's print is called On the Back of the Wind, and On the Back of the Wind is a line from a poem by Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. Disappearing inside noon at the Inky Hand Gallery. From Plymouth Harbor, a block away, a ship's sounding horn joins noontime church bells. But the Inky Hand holds silence. Inside this holy quiet, I cannot look away from the blue. So much blue as there is not always, as sometimes blue is hidden or just not observed. And I see wings widespread dark against that blue on the back of the wind, gulls soaring on updrafts that bend grass back and forth. I am sitting on the floor, observing from below, looking up at the stiff dune grass that cannot be other than where it is, even in wind, rooted and entangled beneath the ever-changing sand. Unlike the solitary woman standing tall on the back of the wind, a woman whose feet are not rooted. And in these moments of gazing at blue, at wings, at fence posts in dunes, I am, and I am not the woman, standing tall inside the wind, and I am not the woman facing the rising sea as fence posts disappear into the always moving shoreline.
Thank you, Anita. It's inspirational to hear you. Thank you, and safe travels. Our next poet is Emily Stiles.
Whatever would we do without the arts and our own voices? I don't know what images you carry in your heart and head about Pride Month, Father's Day, or heaven or hell for that matter. But I invite them to be in conversation with the images I offer in these two poems. The first is I've called Heavenly Conversation. 6 months after my mother died, I sat across from my father in their living room to say out loud that I was amiably divorcing my longtime husband to live with my longtime lesbian friend. My father said, "Your mother would never have approved, and you're going to hell." I said, "This is how I think about it, Dad. If you get to heaven before I do, and I never show up, it will be okay. It will be heaven. And if I get to heaven before you do, I promise you, when you show up, I will not say, 'I told you so,' and I wouldn't anyway. It will be heaven." This poem is also about my dad. I've entitled it Cell Phone Reach. Every time I use my cell phone to look up a word, I think about how my father loved the dictionary. One he kept on the shelf under the kitchen table so he could pull it out even while eating to apprehend further the taste of a specific word. Words fueled his appetite for learning. Another dictionary he kept in the living room next to his easy chair where he read the newspaper, should he need to look up an unfamiliar word to further his comprehension. On his bedside table lived yet another dictionary for when he wanted to explore further a word used in a devotional. My dad carried words in his heart, where there was always room for more. Such efficacious entities they were for him. I hope he's carrying around a cell phone in heaven, still expanding his vocabulary.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Kat. And our next reader is Bill Alberti.
So nice to see so many familiar faces. So I came in last Saturday and met Kat, and we had a nice conversation, and then I said I need to pick out a print. And she said, well, you can't have that one because someone picked that one, and you can't have that one, someone picked that one. So I kind of wandered around, and I came up with this one, if I may. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, it's one of her prints. Libretto, a small story for an opera. Wandering the Wilderness. In this color screen print by Catherine Libretto, one views a universal desolate desert. The work depicts vast blue-gray evening sky with flaxen moon centered in all its full-orbed glory. The vast flat horizon line is low, landscape littered with tumbleweed and cactus scattered in patches of sand. 2 cactus trees frame the foreground, their prickly fingers focus pointing to a small illuminated tent, the only hint of human life. But who would wander to this desolate desert destination? Who would choose to sleep miles from nowhere, from anywhere? Was it the seduction of a silent night, the peaceful protection of sentinel trees, the solitude of a sparse oasis, or the wanderlust to lose oneself? One's heart can find hope in crisp, dry air and soft moonlight, and the knowledge that, unlike the desert, the heart is not isolated, barren, and prickly. Not all who wander are lost. Thank you. And the last line is actually the title of her piece. Not all who wander are lost. I love that.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. And our next poet is Chris Zaremba.
Thank you, and welcome. So I wasn't able to get down here, and Kat was nice enough to offer me a viewing of some of the paintings in here, so it was wonderful. I was able to pick what I wanted, and it's this one. And it's called Silence is Golden. End of the day, end of the trail, another wilderness adventure, another wilderness tale. He was called to the mountains this time. It was much more than you see. He returned with all his story. He shared them all with me. The artist captured the moment. The universe set the scene. The silence was golden. It was a picture. It was a dream.
Thank you, Chris. It's great that you were able to connect with Kat. And our next reader is Mark Walsh.
Hello. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Kat, for hosting. I'm one of the ekphrastically challenged poets today. I was a jet-lagged hot mess last week, so I wasn't going anywhere. Because I would just drop off into sleep. So, but I think I'll honor that jet-laggedness, and I'll do 2 poems here about traveling or places I've been to. 2 years ago, I was fortunate enough to take a trip to Peru and the Galapagos Islands, and I've written 2 poems about Peru, and I'd like to read both of those today. So the first one is called How Lima Was. Perfume city of clear divides, life moving around, heavy traffic, El Malecon hugging that sharp cliff, a paradise of mist and vistas. Here the bronze poet looks west, over the ocean, his mind full of foxes at midnight. Under his nose, leashed bulldogs pull owners to El Parque del Amor. In color-mad, artful Barranco, the Virgin Mary stands as a mountain, feminine, deep-rooted rock, while her son's feet remain nailed fast to ornamental wood. In profitable Miraflores, the rich live in bamboo mansions, dodging earthquakes that stir the poor like flour in a bowl. We visit one of these, old, aromatic, out of time. The matron rents rooms for weddings, entertains tourists for lunch. She was perfumed too, drinking little, her shoes hovering above shaky ground. Thank you, thank you. And the next poem is about our trip up to Machu Picchu. And it's really about, I got up there and I looked around and I said, how in God's name am I going to describe this at all? So it's a poem about not being able to describe Machu Picchu, but I will say everything that happens in this poem is true and did happen. Lines from Machu Picchu. You need to risk being bowled over by llamas descending stone stairs to feel the strangeness of what surrounds you. Heights of searing depth, dancing stones, even-angled terraces, measured courtyards, solstice alignments redrawn atop mountain trails, things not purchased. Direction spins with ease. You can't shake the certainty that if you blew away the clouds and folded back the mountains, you would see the sun rising over the Pacific. All experience soaked up that cloud-drenched morning evaporates in the burn-off. It's laughable to think any inch of this landscape will sink to blood knowledge. Who dares to experience? It's as if, look, along the precipice walks a young mother nursing her infant son. Up here, they do it every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. You didn't say why you were a hot mess. You had just returned from Japan, I believe. So that's a good reason for jet lag. But you showed up, and that's what counts. That's what counts. So as we set up, our next poet is Susan Thanis.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Kat. I love lighthouses, and when I saw this this silk screen by Kat when I came in last week, I just fell in love with it. I'm going to hold it up so you can see it. I couldn't see things over there. It's called Beam of Light. Beautiful. Whoops. Sorry if I didn't do it. Whoops. Okay, stay there. Okay. I do love ekphrastic poetry. So this one is called Beam of Life. On days when the sea is calm, boats cross the bay, silently sailing out of sight. The sun sets in tangerine tones, with only a few gray clouds to block the sky when you look up. Kelp snuggles in rock clefts along the water's edge. Rocks piled on rocks sparkle in the setting sun. But when the sea begins to roil, small boats must seek nearby friendly harbors. Ships along the coast can become lost without a lighthouse, its beacon a well-known signal. But most important is recognizing the red beam of light that warns ships nearing the coast that the once sparkling borders are now treacherous traps if they come close. They may see trees reaching down to the shore, but that red beam from on high is a true life saver. Thank you. I just realized today that I could bring another one. So I brought a poem, an ekphrastic poem that I wrote quite a while ago, but it's one of my favorites. And it's about this painting, the Museum of Fine Arts, and it's called Hanging a Print of Roulan the Postman. Dear friend, let me look into your eyes, blue as the serge suit you are wearing. You deserve so much more than the gold on your jacket. It cannot repay your relationship with my first love, the Dutchman, whom you alone befriended when he was living in Arles. Yes, I know you are married, have 5 children. I've often watched your wife rock the cradle, crooning her lullaby. Your older son once spent time in the small room off my bedroom. Now you inhabit my guest room. It's so much better having you here, you see. In the past, the only way I got to spend time with you was at the MFA, and then it was never in private. Someone was always looking over my shoulder. Please give me your gnarled hands. Let me massage those arthritic fingers. You know you must keep them in shape. You still have many more years to deliver letters. What a pity you'll never receive mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. That was fun. 2 for the price of 1. And our next poet is Marilyn Goh.
You know, I didn't come down, and I wish I had, but I was looking at these, and from where I was sitting, I thought he was holding a kite, he or she or they or whomever. And so I wrote a little ditty in 2 seconds flat, and I'm just going to read that to support your efforts for bringing us here. And then I have another poem. When I grow up, I want to be a kite. I might become a kite that brightens the slope of the darkest night with the promised light of peace. That was my little ditty. The next one is titled Winthrop, Mass, 1960s. If you've listened to any of my poetry, you know I come from a peculiar family, I think. And this is the poem that actually launched a series of peculiar poems. Winthrop, Mass, 1960s. My father sits in the corner conversing with shadows, sits in the corner cutting ice cream with a knife and fork. My sisters turn from him. Desperate to entertain, I tell a joke. He looks past me, flicks his fingers upwards, mutters imaginings into an inattentive ear. Tomorrow I will shake him loose, walk the verdant highlands, climb the sky on the squeaky swings near Sewell Ave, dally on the gentle slopes of Fort Heath, then reaching the town beach, watch seagulls dive into the wild sea, their strokes taking me farther and farther away. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. The fun part about this event has been, I believe, by hosting it here, we have inspired some new poetry, which warms my heart, makes it worthwhile. So thank you. That was a quickie. Sheila, oh, we need to set this up. Sorry. Oh, this was a long one. Okay, thank you. And now our next poet is Sheila Lynch Bentonen.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you very much for the Poetry Festival. This is the last of a very fun week of poetry. And thank you, Kat, for hosting this. I came down and picked out a number of prints. Kat's work is fabulous, but I particularly like this one And I'm an avocational archaeologist, but I also love haikus. And I have a long poem about this, but I have a short poem about meeting Kat. I think we spent an hour together. Kat loves furry, it's a haiku, by the way. Kat loves furry cats, but her paws are hurt somehow. Meow, meow, he'll soon now. This poem is based on my archaeology work, and next door to this building in the 1950s, they were digging a basement, and they found a 10,000-year-old 1-foot ceremonial knife, and this is based on that find. And I don't know if all of you can see this. Oh, no. Don't. Okay. I won't.
It's just perfectly balanced.
Oh, I would probably tilt it. Whose story is it? This is a beautiful silk screen of a fine photograph of a well-executed statue of a strong Native American man. Everything seems fine, except for the story behind the statue. It was commissioned by the Improved Order of Red Men in 1920, an only white male organization. They wanted their fairy tale story. They wanted Massasoit to have a peace pipe in the design to commemorate the 300th landing of the Mayflower. Massasoit, meaning great sachem, was born Osequum, yellow feather. He saw the big ships from Europe arrive, saw 90% of the native coastal population perish, the great dying between 1616 and 1619. Then the Mayflower arrived. Complicated, intertwined relationships for 40 years. Massasoit dies. His oldest son, seized for not selling land, dies mysteriously in captivity. His next son wages war, a most brutal war on both sides, and his severed head is shown down this street on a pike for 25 years. On the Plymouth waterfront, hundreds of Wampanoag are put on ships and sold into slavery. Land they lived on for at least 10,000 years, the court says, is no longer allowed to be theirs. Next door to where we are today, a long, black, shiny ceremonial knife was found while digging out a cellar hole, 9,000 to 10,000 years old. What ceremony? Thousands of artifacts from hundreds of generations in this area. There is history written in books, and there's history written in the soil. There are innumerable Pawtuxet and Plymouth stories, stories we know about generations on this land, stories we tell ourselves about generations on this land, millions of stories we do not know about generations who lived on this land. Whose story is it? Thank you. And the plaque on the boulder on Coles Hill next to Massasoit's statue reads this: Since 1970, Indigenous people and their allies have gathered at noon on Coles Hill in Plymouth to commemorate a national day of mourning on the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday. Many Native people do not celebrate the arrival of the Pilgrims and other European settlers. Thanksgiving Day is a reminder of the genocide of millions of Native people, the theft of Native lands, and the erasure of Native cultures. Participants in National Day of Mourning honor Indigenous ancestors and Native resilience. It is a day of remembrance and spiritual connection, as well as a protest against the racism and oppression that the indigenous people continue to experience worldwide, erected by the town of Plymouth on behalf of the United American Indians of New England. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. And if anyone hasn't seen Massasoit on Coles Hill, you should stop by at some point, or bring your family the next time they come visit. Thank you. Our next reader is Jen Pipp. This will take a minute for her to set it up.
Okay, so super excited to be here on this last day of the Poetry Festival. I indulged in 3 card prints. I'm also going to indulge in my full 5 minutes. I've been practicing all morning, and so I just don't want anyone to be scared. I have a handful of fast-moving poems for you, and I'm gonna finish with the one inspired by Kat's work. The first one, and they're from a range. Some are very fresh. Some are revised old poems that I've written. We're going to start with Wild. Skittish, hopeful, tender bones, unreal singing, born alone. Wild heartbeats keep me close. Creatures love me most. Compromises are my food. Destruction eats my boring mood. Oblivious to nighttime rites. Balance never holds me tight. Dream forever, dream of ghosts. Dapple moments, my subtle host. Thank you. So the next one is 4 letters, and it's from 2012, and it's been revised. Love is a 4-letter word, 4 is a 4-letter word is a 4-letter word, and so it goes. Goes is a 4-letter word, point is a 5-letter word, letter is a 6-letter word, and we lost our way, fracturing what we held, fracturing what we say. To really understand the power of a broken heart, you must know the breaking is the art of loving sometimes. The breaking is a point, striking what was rigid, fracturing the joint that locked you. When we let ourselves be broken, we release the mask that covers the unsaid now spoken. The truth arrives humble and tired. Pain births clarity. Old defenses, luxurious rarity, fall away. Layers now shed, nothing hidden, soul led, complete. This one is called Promise. I got your back, give me no flack. Bound in fire, soul to soul, it's a pact. I do for you as you do for me. The seed is full grown, we see the tree. It's hard to know how it will grow, storm, stoil, change, flow. What matters most from coast to coast is something deep, something close. It can't be seen with your own eye. It is your when, your where, and your why. What matters most is not your amount, but what you become, your full account. So add it up right, keep love in sight, your wisdom, your words, they are your might. That's dedicated to all the poets out there, the wordsmiths, the people brave enough to do something that people fear more than death. Public speaking is a fear that goes above it. So, to all you brave souls out there, your wisdom, your words. Okay, one more poem before the one based on the prints. This is called Golden Spider Presents the Great Wheel of Stuff. And this went with a performance I did over 10 years ago. There's a lesson in every question. There's a question in every day. There's a day in every lifetime. When blood is traded for rock, the earth will cry out in confusion. The earth knows rock is rock, blood is blood. Why do you create your own killer? Why do you sell your own honor? How are you blind to your own movement? Why do you mouth the words of monsters? Why do you eat the air of children? How will you leave each day empty of life and full of it? If you understand the true health of people, a seed is worth more than 1,000 bullets. Please don't cut the lifeline to mystery because you fear the unknown. When you are willing, the golden spider can show you something. She will hold a mirror. Watch yourself cling to death. Watch yourself cling to the unspeakable violence. See the invisible gun you hide in your house. And if you can see, there is a chance you can change. Okay. So if I get brave enough, I might sing a tiny bit. This is called Me, Us, You, and it's inspired by these 3 beautiful cards that I saw. I was allowed to pick 3 because they were small. I think it's like an acreage thing, maybe. These are available for sale. So you should definitely hold each one up. Yes, let's hold them all up. Let's see. So here is the tree. And the card rack is right there, which might make a little bit of a appearance in the poem. Me, us, you. And this is actually really beautiful because when I traveled to England, there's the three circles that overlap. That's like the symbol of relationship, right? Where we're individuals, yet there is that space of relationship. And so they really spoke to me. And then here is this beautiful card of celebration. So here we go. Let's see if my bravery lasts. Oop. Uh-oh. That's all right. Okay. It's okay. It's all good. They're still here with us. Okay. So at the beginning of the universe, there was a song that the molecules sang. And it was translated over billions of what humans call years. Over time, it started into physical form. And it was the job of the stars to infuse the song into light. The light became trees, the trees became houses, the houses housed people, the people built buildings, the buildings held machines, the machines printed cards for people to send to people. Day and night, the cards sat on racks, seemingly silent, but they are actually singing the original song, the song that the molecules taught to the stars. But these songs are flat and quiet. You must be flat and quiet to learn them. One day, I heard 3 cards singing a song. Me, us, you, 2 by 2, the trees are here, we never knew. Me, us, you, 10 by 10, you are a hammer, I am a pen. Me, us, you, party time, catch my wave, catch my rhyme. Me, us, you, graphic art, I know now how life starts. Me, us, you, green and blue, sing it wild, sing it true. Me, us, you, tree by song, the day is gold, the nights are long. Me, us, you, starline dance, I be books at a glance. Me, us, you, finer things, little text, subtle rings. Me, us, you, echo call, looking back, free for all. Me, us, you, rhythm rhyme, slow it down, take your time. And so they sang and sang, right in front of everyone without being noticed, bearing their little tiny paper souls, time and space fused and remembered.
Well, thank you, Jen. Pip, yeah, I think you hit one out of the ballpark. So, thank you. I didn't expect singing. So, is anyone going to be dancing? Do I need, our dance shoes? So, I'm going to move on to our next poet. Is Susan Hunter. Would you please come up? I didn't know if you wanted to hold this up. Okay.
Okay, hello everybody. I wasn't able to get here either this week, but I don't have great technological skills, but I printed this out. I'm going to write a poem based on, I wrote a poem based on the art of Childe Hassem, who was an American Impressionist painter. And he lived and painted in the late 1800s and early 1900s. This is one of his interior shots. You can see it's kind of a lovely room with flowers and the sunlight coming in. He also did seascapes, beach shots out on Long Island, and he did paintings of New York City in the rain, where there's a famous one with a American flag that you may have remembered. Soon after 9/11, maybe 1.5 years, I went to New York City and I went to an exhibit of his paintings, and they really kind of brought out an emotional reaction from me. And so I wrote this poem. On viewing Childe Hassem, we all looked at the beautiful pictures painted in a time before we were born, in a century before the last one, before the horrors of just yesterday and the day before. And we drank in the colors of the roses whose petals had fallen on the table. A woman looked into a mirror beside an open window. The sunlight poured into the room, filled with daffodils. It was morning, and a younger woman was reading on a settee. She was wearing a dress and stockings. Why not? It was a beautiful world, the world of the painting. It was the world that preceded our childhoods or the childhoods we never had. In the painting, where the sun didn't shine, there was the shimmering of wet city pavement. Mothers took children by the hand and led them to a warm and comfortable place. The city had a clear view of blue sky down to the harbor. In the world of the heart, when a grassy lawn leads up to a clapboard house, it means the ocean is a stone's throw away. Lunch is almost ready, and the aroma of lilies and lilacs overwhelms the senses. We don't need to strain the ear to make out the music. A woman in lace plays the piano while her sister sits nearby. Softly, close the door so as not to disturb the slow cadence of the passing years. Thanks. I just brought one more poem. This is also about art. It's about a man who I knew who's a sculptor. It's called Artist Studio. The artist swipes the salmon stone with a wet cloth, shakes his head at me. We go way back, he said. The man I knew as a child cuts and shapes pink marble, white marble, pink and gray. Pieces large enough to embrace, carried here from the same swath Michelangelo saw in Carrara as his Mary, her son, and David. Today, in this New England garden, the river rises when it rains, but doesn't flood the stone, the studio. On the street, as I quit the space I'll never see again, curled leaves scrape along the concrete sidewalk. Dust moves under dark, dry clouds. Will the marble change to soft marsh, water rising over the fish market, the boatyard, desert sweeping west? In the green town where you and I grew up, my parents lie side by side. Sometimes I wipe their stones clean, break up the hard-packed earth as we wait for the rain to sculpt a dry memory. Thank you. Let me go.
Thank you, Susan. And our next reader is Alan Howarth.
My apologies to the gallery for not making it down here to see your wonderful prints. But I have two poems for you here, and you can kind of let the words paint a picture for you. The first poem is called Gray. In the gray light of morning, when time is of little use, and thoughts no longer meandering, but crashing through the walls, telling me now's the time to find answers, to choose just one path from this collage. I turn to you who lie sleeping and envy your gentle sleep and feel your heart's beat in rhythm to mine. And the passing trains going nowhere, fated to return to nowhere, happy to remain alone. Looking at these walls again, seeking to find the power they hold over me, seeking to find the door to which you are the key to open all as you have opened my eyes through your own. When the dawn replaces the gray, we shall leave these walls, All our possessions are packed and our memories forgotten as well as can be. For our new land must be free from all thoughts of the past, except our dream to be free. Thank you. And I have one more. This I dedicate to 20 years of traveling on public transportation. It's called The Road. Transformations created a new ecstasy in the bus. As a man moved toward the abysmal road with his eyes, he surveyed the terse brink of despair. As it neared, he cringed from the rigid rubber matting that threatened him, and as he looked up into their faces, the smiling advertisements crushed him. They looked ridiculous enough to make him want to burn them. The dirty woman who had sat to his left now held the pole. He hated her because she smelled and cared nothing about the night or the road which loomed so close below their fixed stance. She slipped downwards through the open door as he hoped she would, and he stepped hard on her outstretched, pale, writhing hand as he ground her wrist into the dirty gravel of the road. The zoo creatures who were watching from their cages knew he had pushed her, and he didn't care. And they knew that too, because he was running too fast to hear their curses, and suddenly he couldn't breathe anymore. And black stars lit up the subtlety of his vision as a smile of self-consciousness crossed his dirty face, and he wept in the fear he had so well concealed. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. That was wonderful and much appreciated. And our next poet is Sarah Grady.
Hi, everybody. So when I came in, I was struck by this print, which, if you can see, is kind of these power lines. And I was also struck by this print, which apparently is its mate. It says, "On the road again, going places that I've never been." And so this was really my main one that I wrote the poem about, but then when I got to the car, I had to write that one too. So I have those two poems, plus I'm going to be like Jen and use a couple, do a couple more. Oh, of course, yes. There's a glare. Oh, the other one. Yeah, okay. So that one has the power lines. And then this is very similar. Yeah, this is kind of an important detail on this one. All right. So, and this one is for my dad. I'm actually going to get it for him for Father's Day and give him the broadsheet when I get that. So, and just background on him is that he loves cars and electricity and invented a heart cath machine. All right. Driving long, no destination, and Dad told us follow the power lines. We are electrified, connected, woven from wood and wire. Transformers and insulation, tall poles flashing rhythmically by. Catenary curves and little birds, windows lit by a sky on fire. To find the heart of civilization, follow thin capillaries to thick cable arteries. Along the farm fields and forests at sunset, when you wander, watch the wires. And now this one, definitely not about my dad. Just all dad thoughts out, because this is spicy. All right. Pressed against the fence, late summer, lips on skin, the sun now sinking had warmed, glowing from light or love or a hint of being discovered. Nestled deep against my neck, muffled whispers of, "Baby? Baby? Yeah? Did you know those aren't windmills, but wind pumps? They draw water for livestock." I laugh into your shoulder and kiss you even harder. Okay, and here are my other. So these two poems are about being more or too much, potentially. You are not too much because you are far less much than me, and I am not too much. It's simple math. What kind of two do they accuse we two of being anyway? Too joyful? Too enthusiastic? Too much of a reminder that we should live vibrantly and not cautiously, constantly measuring exactly how much we are? I am not a distant dream. I am not a sad wish bounced off car windows as you drive with no destination until you reach some deep forest where tree trunks will dampen the sound of your shouting, a river valley to echo back your pain, an open field where longing dissipates into thin air. I am tangibility. I am incarnate and carnal. I am that dream, that wish come true. I am that voice in your ears, the hand on your thigh from the driver's seat. I am up against the trees, the roar from the valley, the earth under your back when you look to the sky, with no wish in your mouth but for more. And one more. I like the creases where I have been bent and folded, squinted and smiled, overflowed my container just a bit. A love letter occasionally opened, read, and returned to its envelope. An impromptu accordion fan from a graduation program on a humid June day. The cookie fresh from the oven that buckled at the spatula's touch. Someday, the creases will break their orientation and shatter into a faceted surface, each tiny panel marking my days. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. We got a good bang for our buck on that. It was really nice you were able to join us today. Thank you. And so now we have our almost final reader, John Holgerson. I'm the closer.
Okay. Because Jennifer won't do this on her own, I'm going to ask that we all give a final round of applause to Jennifer and the American Earthquake Poet Laureates. And also, we should also commend all of the venues, including Inky Hands, for being willing to host this thing. Okay, so I decided that I would forego the opportunity to read any of my own poems today. And the reason for that is because today, June the 13th, marks the 159th birthday of W.B. Yeats. So because it's right on this very day that he was born, it wasn't yesterday and it isn't tomorrow, I thought I would read two of his poems. So hopefully, if he's in the ether somewhere, he will appreciate the way I read these, because I'm not sure it would be the way he would. Brown Penny by William Butler Yeats. I whispered, I am too young, and then I am old enough, wherefore I threw a penny to find out if I might love. Go and love, young man, if the lady is young and fair. Ah, penny, brown penny, I am lost in the loops of her hair. Oh, love is the crooked thing. There is nobody wise enough to find out all that is in it, for he would be thinking of love till the stars had run away and the shadows eaten the moon. Ah, penny, brown penny, one cannot begin it too soon. So there is a short little anecdote I want to mention about this next poem. It's a poem that appears in the last book of poetry that Yeats wrote and published before his death. And in his estate, it is specifically mentioned, and you can all go to your libraries and bookstores to check this out. I have done that, and as far as I can tell, this is true. In his estate, he said that when this poem is to be published in any kind of a collection or anthology of his work, it has to be the last one in the collection or the anthology. So I have not been able to find a collection of his poems in which this was not the last one, but there's a little bit of a treasure hunt for you. It's called Politics. How can I, that girl standing there, my attention fix on Roman or on Russian or on Spanish politics, yet here's a traveled man that knows what he talks about, and there's a politician that has read and thought. And maybe what they say is true of war and war's alarms. But oh, that I were young again and held her in my arms. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. You just gave me a gift. I love W.B. Yeats, and I appreciate that you read that those two poems. Thank you. So today is the final of the 4 events, and I thought that I might share actually two of my haikus. Last year, I believe John had encouraged me, and I thought, why not have a little fun? I'm always working on trying to have a little bit of fun. So, in a previous lifetime, when I was the library director of the Plymouth Public Library, I used to collaborate with one of our staff members, Beverly Ness, who was a photographer, and I would write haikus. She would take a picture, and she would frame it, and we would give this to anyone who was retiring. So, of course, no one wrote a haiku or took a picture for me when I retired. But this was one of my own pictures, so I don't have to give her credit, although all the years we worked together, we loved it. So it's a picture from Vermont that I took, and it's actually more fun to read it right directly from under the picture, so that's why I'm doing it that way. So Queen Anne's lace invites travelers along their path, lovely country roads. Number 1. And then this final one, before I do my final thank yous. So my beloved cat, Atticus Finch, passed away in September, shockingly, quickly, and I'm heartbroken and devastated. Cannot even consider another cat. This was not an easy cat. I want you to know he had a little bit of psycho in him. He was a tuxedo cat. And we had lived together in my beach cottage in Marshfield, which was very, very old and very fragile. So in my retirement, I moved to Sawyer's Reach, of which one of our poets lives there. And I have a brand new, gorgeous condo. So he and I had 3 wonderful years together. So I was so sad and bereft that I had to find a picture that would make me smile. So every time I look at this picture, I have it in my kitchen, and it puts a smile on my face. He was a big, beautiful cat. And I love that I'm not the only one doing a cat poem, so thank you, Sheila, for doing one for our cat over here. So, haiku in memory. 10 years together, beloved Atticus Finch, eudaimonia. Thank you. And just so you know, eudaimonia was the word of the day in a dictionary whenever it is that I wrote this, and I thought it means happiness. And I thought it just came together, and that's how haikus come together. So at this time, I'm going to thank everyone again. I want to recognize the local scene, doing business by PAC TV, our crew, our video crew. Erica Christensen has been our, what is the term? Producer. She's been the producer. Dusty's not here today. No, and we have David. So I'll leave your last name out for anonymity. So, but anyhow, a real round of applause. They did all 4. Thank you. And what will happen is they will edit the different events, and they send me YouTube links as they produce them. They spread them out, and then I forward them to any of the poets who were in them. and we will be adding them on our Hometown Laureates Facebook page and our website. So it takes time, and it gets spread out, but I do get back to everyone. So thank you very much. And appreciation to my America's Hometown Laureates board. This wouldn't happen without our group together, and I'm going to list their names so that, and I always go, there's 7 of them. So let's see, there's Stephen Cole from Plymouth Development. There's Melissa Kinney from Plymouth Bay Cultural Council, or District, I'm sorry. Then there's Elizabeth Shanahan-Jewett from Local Scene, and she's awesome. And Glenda Richards, who is our treasurer. Amy Naples is the executive director for the Chamber of Commerce. We added Stephen Delbos as the emeritus poet laureate, and myself. So that's a wrap. Thank you all.